Now, there's a thought that I've been trying to resolve a little while now, but I've said it, I've thought about that, I've preached about it, and I think that will be very helpful for you if you can learn this. And that's the confusion about Moses and the promised land. And a lot of people say, well, Moses did not get to the promised land, and he got disappointed by God, or he acted, and all that, and all that. There are many sides to it. I don't know whether I will have enough time, but let me quickly encapsulate it in a few words. Number one, Moses entered into the promised land. Now, I know you've never heard it like that before. The Bible tells us that he gave the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Manasseh, and half tribe of Gad. No, excuse me. He gave the Gadites, the Reubenites, and half tribe of Manasseh. He gave them a parcel of land before Jordan. So what really happened was that Moses did not cross Jordan. That's the whole teaching I said, because Jordan will represent a life in the spirit. Jordan will represent where here we'll fight, here we're going to take in the land and dispossess these people of the land. And certain things, criteria, certain attitudes will come up. There was going to be a second circumcision. There was going to be a shout of victory. There's going to be the leadership of God, which is going to be led by the Ark of the Covenant that they had to take ahead. The priest will go first into the river before they can. So a whole lot of things will represent the leadership of God, the life in the spirit. And in fact, they're going to bring out 12 stones. They came into a place called, the water moved back to a place called Adam. So he's going to roll back to the flesh where we started from in the garden and the fall of man. Then he rolled back there. They brought stones out, and then later they took out stones representing the 12 tribes. 12 stones are in. 12 stones out, 12 stones in. And they built an altar there and all that stuff. And around that area was where John was baptizing. I said of these stones representing the Gentile nation. So let's leave that. But then, so you see, Moses actually entered into the promised land. That way, a part of it. But he didn't cross Jordan. And his prayer was, Lord, let me cross over the Jordan, that goodly land, the one that was on the other side. And God didn't grant that. Then the next thing you need to understand was this, that God granted his request because on the Mount of Transfiguration, he appeared to Christ. So even if you thought that was the promised land, then he appeared there. But I know that ultimately by the time Moses was appearing before Christ, he already had the understanding that the promised land was not a parcel of land, it was a person. Jesus is the promised land. He's the rest. He's the Sabbath of God that he promised. Because all the prophecy, the law and the prophets were until John. And then a new era. And Christ became the fulfillment of everything. And so now that's why we're told in Hebrews chapter 4 that if the land of promise was a parcel of land, in Hebrews chapter 4, then Joshua will have led them in there, will have given them, and if Joshua has given them rest, there was no need to announce there remained rest for God's people. But because the land of promise was not a parcel of land, it was a person, which is Christ, Joshua could not lead them there. And so Moses realized that because the glory of God is in the face of Jesus. So when Moses saw Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration with Elijah, they recognized this is the land of rest we're all looking forward to. Not the Palestine they are fighting over. All right? Okay, so take that. And he pleaded, okay, I'd like to go over. And a lot of people say, oh, he did. I want you to go and read the story of God commissioning Moses. There was no place God said, Moses, go and bring these people to the land of promise. He says, go and bring my people to this mount on my Sinai where I'm appearing to you, the bush is burning and not consumed. Bring them here and let them worship me. When he appeared before Pharaoh, he said exactly, telling Pharaoh, the one who has sent me to bring these people up so they might worship before him. He did not say that he asked me to take them to the promised land. He says, and so when Pharaoh released them, he said, no, keep back your animal. He said, no. What are we going to worship him with in the wilderness? Go bring them, he told me, to the wilderness that they may worship me. So God never signed any contract with Moses that he will cross over to Jordan. He never did. But he gave him the privilege of giving 2.5 tribes, land on this side. Secondly, if Moses had made it to the land of promise by any act of omission, if Moses had made it to the land of promise, it would have become an issue. Why was it going to be an issue? It's simple. Moses, who was the mediator of the land, if he had made it, sorry, not the land of promise, but the land of promise, Canaan as across Jordan, if he had made it across, then it means that the mediator of the law made it by the deeds of the law. And if you made it by the deeds of law, you'll be doomed to keep the law, which you won't be able to. So God had to effectively terminate his contract, which says, bring them to this mountain and let them worship me. As soon as they got to that place, offer sacrifices to the Lord, he went to the top of the mountain and brought the commandment, which was not God's perfect will. Because a lot of people think that it's out of law that God gave 10 commandments. He didn't set out. Go and read Exodus chapter 19. He said to them, you tell the people, you know how I brought you on eagle's wing. I want you to become a peculiar treasure to me, and you become special people and a kingdom of priests. So when Peter was quoting in 1 Peter chapter 2, he was not quoting his original, it was what God told Moses that he was repeating there. It wasn't original with Peter. He was quoting from what God told Moses in Exodus chapter 19. And then the people then said, okay, God said, sanctify them, bring them to me. And then after they saw the cloud, the fire, they said, no. We cannot talk with God. You go and talk to him and let him, and whatever he says to you, we will do it. In other words, we will rather receive rules to live by instead of relationship. Then we're looking for the laws to keep instead of the life that will keep us. That's where the problem was. That's why they got the law. So this man, if he made it across the other side, then would have been doomed to survive by the works of the law. And by the details of the law, no man shall be justified. It has to be by grace. That's why Moses did not cross over Jordan or got into Canaan. God didn't promise that anyway. He says, go bring them here, let them worship here, and I will take them to a land flowing with milk and honey. The I there was not Moses. It's the Lord who commissioned him. God bless you.